Good. So we're going to go on with the seminar now. So as I was saying, this is the third week. If you weren't at the other two, you can catch up with them on our YouTube site. So the seminar is based on a text called the Vimla-Kirti Nirdesha, traditional text. It's from Mahayana Buddhism, for those who know their Buddhist history, which is the second great phase of Buddhism. And what we're particularly using as a guide is this book. It's called The Inconceivable Emancipation. It's by Sangharakshita. And I really want to recommend this book to you. I found this quite a life-changing book, literally, when I was going to say first read it, but actually I didn't first read it, I first heard it, because it's based on a series of lectures by Bhante Sangharakshita. And I listened to them when I was quite new to Buddhism, which was about 30 years ago. And it was in the days where you still had cassette tapes. I was listening to a recording of these lectures on cassette tape. And I remember it was on cassette tape because I remember that I kept rewinding to hear it again because it was like amazing me so much. I'd keep like rewinding. You know, most of you might not even remember cassette tapes, but for those of you who do, you sort of rewound them manually, you know. Anyway, so really, really recommend this book. It's very, very good. Well, it's a commentary, but it's more than a commentary. You know, it itself, you know, it's a visionary book actually. So I'd really, as I say, recommend that. Okay, so who was here last week? Who's been following the series? Who was here last week? Okay, quite a couple of you. And who was here the week before? Okay, even more of you. Okay, that's good, because I'm going to do a little recap, but I'm going to do it by asking you. So they won't be hard, the questions. So who is Vimla-Kirti? Who's Vimla-Kirti? So maybe people that were here the previous weeks, or maybe you know anyway if you've been studying Buddhism. Who's Vimla-Kirti?
Me and Bart just said he's like Doctor Who.
Okay. So can you expand on that? How's he like Doctor? See, I wasn't here the last 2 weeks, so I am actually relying on you to tell me what's been going on. Doctor Who, yeah.
Apparently he has a normal life and everybody thinks he's normal, but in reality he's not.
Okay, so he's a normal life. People think he's normal, but in many ways he's not. So, say more? What's not normal about him?
Well, he's able to do some magic tricks.
Okay, so he can do magic.
Yeah.
Okay, so good. This is getting there. Anyone else? Someone?
You can expand time and space. That's the Doctor Who.
He can expand time and space. Okay. So what makes him be able to do that? It's a Bodhisattva. Who said that? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ollie. So say a little bit more, Ollie. What's a Bodhisattva?
Someone who has given up full enlightenment for the sake of all beings.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So they won't reach the fullest depth of nirvana until every living being has.
Okay, great. And do you think that's an ordinary state of being? Someone who's doing that? So it's quite an advanced state of being. Okay, so that's good. So between all of us, I think we've got a description of him. Because he's like Doctor Who and doing magic with time and space, but he appears normal. So this is really important. He appears normal. He lives as if he's an ordinary householder, buying and selling, and got a wife and family and everything. So he appears normal, but actually he's a bodhisattva. He's a very, very highly evolved practitioner. So I think this is very important to remember, that he appears normal, but he's not normal, like you said, yeah? Okay. So good. So that's who Vimla is, and we'll be hearing more about how that plays out in the coming weeks. Now, those of you that were here last week, I believe you were talking about building the Buddhaland. Is that right? Or you were hearing about that? So here's an easy question, and you can even guess at this even if you weren't here. So what's a Buddhaland? Oh, you're very good. Yes. You listen.
A pure land.
So a pure land. So what's a pure land?
A land where people practice Buddhism.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. So that's definitely on the right track. So a pure land is one kind of Buddha land, yeah? Does anybody remember what?
A land where there's conditions that enable people to become enlightened.
Yeah, and what is the main condition for people to become enlightened? Community. There's something even more kind of, that is one of the conditions, but something even more, it's kind of almost an answer so obvious it might be too obvious.
People can practice. People can practice.
Say again, sir?
Where people can practice.
When people can practice, yeah, and what? Try to sort of put words into your mouth. What or who might inspire people to practice? The Buddha, yes, yeah. So a Buddhaland, a Buddhaland simply means a sort of world where there is the presence of a Buddha, yeah, at least in memory. So our land, our world, is a Buddhaland because we live in an era where there has been a Buddha. Even though he's passed away, he's still in memory, yeah? So there's the influence of a Buddha. Yes, so Buddhaland is where there's a sphere of influence of a Buddha. It would be possible, to be in a realm where there was no Buddha, and then enlightenment. Well, I shouldn't say impossible, it would be very, very difficult. So the Buddha is called the Buddha because he was the first to be enlightened in a sort of world and an era where there was no Buddha. So that's really, really difficult because there's no Buddha, so you've got to discover it all yourself. We're in a Buddha land because we're in the sphere of influence of a Buddha, yeah? So, some Buddha lands are pure and some are impure. So you've mentioned the pure Buddha land. What do you think? So, what do you think an impure Buddha land is? What do you think a pure one is? So yeah, you've got this Buddha land is the sphere of influence of Buddha. So there is a Buddha, so that's good, but it can be pure or impure. Yes?
I think we are in an impure Buddha.
Because there's so much suffering around. Yeah. So we're in an impure Buddha land. Would people agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So traditionally speaking, an impure Buddha land is where there are the 6 traditional realms of existence. Yeah. So there's the hell realm. That's a realm of suffering. There's the animal realm. That's the realm of literal animals, but it's not really that. It's the realm of there's no higher value. Yeah, it's a bit like the realm that Kusasara was talking about, where there's only just kind of eating and sleeping and stuff. There's no higher value. There's the realm of what's traditionally called the Titan realm, and the realm of competitiveness and people trying to, just compete and sort of win all the time. There's the realm which is traditionally called the hungry ghost realm. That's the realm of, there's the whole world of addiction, either kind of, in the again, the literal sense of just that realm of you never can quite find what you want, you know, that realm where you go home at night and you just open the fridge. You're not hungry, but you know you want something, but you don't know what it is. Do you know that sort of, you know, yeah, no, it's only me, yes, yeah. And that's 4, yeah, so there's hell realm suffering, the animal realm, this hungry ghost realm, this titan realm of competitiveness, the human realm, which is it's the realm of when it says the human realm, it doesn't necessarily mean just the literal humans. It means the sort of happy, healthy human state where there is the possibility of growth. And the God realm, which is the realm of, you could say that's the realm of higher aesthetic appreciation, meditative bliss, and so on. So in an impure Buddhaland, there's all those 6 realms, yeah? In a pure Buddhaland, there's only 2 of them. Which 2 do you think are in the pure Buddhaland? Out of those 6 I mentioned?
Humans and gods.
Humans and gods, yeah. And Buddhas, yeah, which isn't a realm at all, that's something again, yeah. So in a pure Buddhaland, there's only humans and gods. And when you say humans, it's in the sort of full human sense, you know. And that's a pure land. And in that pure land, the Dharma is just available all the time. There's nothing kind of getting in the way of the Dharma, yeah. So the good news is that these are sort of permeable to each other, that an impure Buddhaland can become a pure Buddhaland. It can work the other way around as well, but we'll concentrate on the fact that an impure Buddhaland can become a pure Buddhaland. And that's the work of that's the Bodhisattva vow in a way, is to work so that the impure Buddhaland becomes a pure Buddhaland. It becomes a place where we can the Dharma is always available. Sometimes it's called a Buddha field, by the way, as well as a Buddha land, which I quite like the image of a field because it's got that whole symbolism of growth, fertility, and so on. So you hear it talked about as a Buddha field or a Buddha land. Now, okay, here's a harder question. This is just by way of recap. This is for people who were here last week. Padmavajra, I believe, talked about how to build a Buddha land. 5 things, yeah.
5 things.
Okay, great. There were 5 things, and what were they then?
Self-realization, community,
Uh-huh.
and I forgot the rest.
Okay, good. Anybody else remember any more? This is good because I wasn't there, so.
One was believe in magic or believe in the mystery.
Okay, yeah, I believe that, yeah.
Talked about he talked about making ourselves
Yeah.
and friends as well.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Yeah.
And wise.
That's good, yeah. I think you got them all between you. So I think what Padmavajra gave us wasn't a totally traditional list, but it was his. He's studied the text very, very much himself. So in a way, he's given the sort of pith of the principles of how to build a Buddha land. So what he said was, make yourself, take responsibility for your life and your mind. Gather wisdom so that you're not coming from ego clinging. As long as we're still caught in the sort of cycle of ego clinging, that limits our ability to really do good. So gather wisdom and make friends, and together make a world and revere the mystery. I'd be open to the transcendent, yeah? So that was the 5 things that he said last week. So that's all by way of recap. So, okay, so we're going to kind of keep on this theme tonight, and I've got some more material to give you during the course of the evening. But so here we are. So we've reminded ourselves who Vimalakirti is, and we'll come back to him. We've talked about building a Buddhaland, or another way of putting it is transforming our impure Buddhaland into a pure Buddhaland. Why do that? Why would anyone want to do that? Why bother in a way? Why bother trying to transform our impure Buddhaland into a pure Buddhaland? Yes.
Create the conditions for enlightenment.
Yeah, you create the conditions for enlightenment. Yeah, and who would you? So, but why not just go to a little cave and do that yourself? Why not just go a cave, get enlightened, never mind about anyone else?
I'm tempted.
Yeah, I'm sure we all are. Yeah. So what? So what? You've not done that. So why are you here? Or why would anybody else can chip in? So it's tempting to go off to that little cave and get enlightened. Rosa? Okay, say that again. The Bodhisattva ideal. Okay, so say I came from Mars and I'd never heard of that, the Bodhisattva. How would you explain that? You might need to talk up a little bit for me, a little bit. To do something for all beings? Yeah, to help other beings suffering. Yeah, so that's a really good reason. So you don't want to, if you went to your cave, that would be a bit, you could say, just a bit self-centered. You want to help all beings out of compassion, yeah. That's a very good reason, and let's take that even a little bit deeper. So you might think, okay, I could go to my cave, but if I feel like I want to help beings. Is there an even sort of, that's not wrong, but there's something even deeper.
It's a sense that we're connected to everybody and everything.
Okay.
So we can't just do it for ourselves in the sense that we've got to think of everybody else as well.
Yeah. That's it. It's because we're actually connected. Can you say actually a bit more? Keep going. You're on the right track. Yeah.
I guess when you let go of your sense of self,
Yeah.
you kind of connect with something much deeper.
Yeah.
A sense of connection with all things.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I can't really come
No, you've got it actually. So actually, what I think, if I just expand on what you said, so the idea that you could do it is false in the first place, because we are connected with all other beings, and actually the enlightenment itself is a realization of that connection. It's realizing that we're never separate from all beings in the first place. So actually, to think, tempting as it might be, and I've certainly been tempted myself to go off to a cave and do it yourself, actually is a contradiction in terms, because the very thing enlightenment consists of, because it is letting go of ego clinging, in other words, letting go of it's almost sort of self-centeredness and everything circling back to you. It's actually a contradiction in terms to think that one could do it by oneself, because the actual, what enlightenment consists of and in is the realization that we never were separate, yeah? So to put that in more down to earth terms, you actually can't help yourself without helping others, yeah? If you're not looking to the needs of other people, actually you're as far away from enlightenment as you ever were, yeah? So that's why we would build. That's why the Bodhisattva and the aspiring Bodhisattva, which is all of us really, if we're practicing, tries to build a Buddhaland. Yeah. Is there anything else? Is there anything else to say on that before I move on? Yes?
I'm just wondering that if it's more of a collective endeavour, that speeds up the evolution.
Yeah.
So everything adds less velocity.
Yeah, I think that's true, isn't it? And a bit like Kustasar was saying in her announcement, if we can create a culture together where it's more likely that enlightenment can manifest in some people within that culture. Yeah, if we work together. Yeah, so it's a recognition of that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to Vimalakirti. So we had at the beginning the Vimalakirti, he appears to be an ordinary lay person. Yeah, he appears to be an ordinary lay person. He's actually a highly developed Bodhisattva. So why does he manifest? Why do you think he manifests as this lay person? Why doesn't he just kind of, be a Bodhisattva and dwell in some heavenly realm or something like that? Why does he live in the town, and go to the shops and do all those things that he does? Why does he manifest like that? He could manifest in any way he wanted, presumably.
Because he has access to all the people.
Okay.
The city and all the realms, not realms, it's the wrong word, but all the professions.
Yeah.
That's good. He has access to all of these people, therefore he can give them the teaching of the Dharma.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Linda. That's good. Yeah, he does that. He can be with people and he can relate to people. Yeah, he can relate to people. They can have access, and then that is a vehicle for the Dharma. That's exactly it. And there's a Buddhist word for that way of practicing, which I've written down. You can copy it down if you want. I'll try and remember it. It's called Upaya I can't quite pronounce it. It's Upaya Kaushalya, yeah? And it's often translated as skillful means, yeah? Skillful means. So this is what we're going to spend the rest of the evening on, exploring what we really mean by this term, skillful means. It's very important Buddhist teaching that's relevant for all of us, like whether we're a bodhisattva or not. Skillful means is learning to have skill in means. And I think that the sort of basic premise is that you need this. You need to, if you want to communicate the Dharma, to help, to play your part in building this Buddhaland, which as we've sort of seen is in a sense the only thing to do actually if we want to be a Buddhist, is to build a Buddhaland. Even if we do have those fantasies of going off to a cave, actually it's going to come back to building the Buddhaland, trying to transform our impure Buddhaland into more and more pure Buddhaland. Good intentions aren't enough. Well, I think that's what this is saying, is good intentions aren't enough. Even for a bodhisattva, good intentions aren't enough. There has to be skill in means in order to communicate with people, and it's going to have to be in relation to people building this Buddhaland. You can't do it on your own. For that double reason, the reason that you were saying, you can't do it on your own because you can do it better with other people because that will speed things up. So that's the practical reason for not doing it on your own. But there's an even deeper reason, which is this truth of interconnectedness. You can't do it on your own. You're going to have to do it with other people, and kind of, even though you think, I think half the time, kind of, oh, drat, you're going to have to connect with other people to do this, which is, quite bothersome quite a lot of the time. And to do that, you have to have skill in means, yeah? You have to have this upaya kaushalya, this skillful means. So what I'm going to get us to do in a minute is explore this among ourselves. I'm going to ask you to go into small groups of 3. But I'm going to tell you your instructions first. So I'm going to get you to try and think what the skillful means of a bodhisattva or even an aspiring bodhisattva are. So you want to communicate the Dharma. So what are you going to have to put into place? What's going to be a skillful way of doing that? And maybe even it's worth thinking what's not a skillful way of doing that. What I thought might help, it might help if you feel you've benefited from coming here, and I hope you do feel you've benefited from coming here to the LPC. What ingredients have there been? If you feel that, you might have been coming here for, a few weeks or months or even quite a lot of years, and if, presumably that's because you do feel you get something from coming here and you do learn something, try and see what are the ingredients to that, yeah? What's made you be able to learn the Dharma and practice the Dharma, yes? Does that question make sense? So we're trying to think, what could the Bodhisattva's skillful means be? And try and take quite a wide canvas in thinking of that. To help you, you might think if you've benefited from the centre, what are the ingredients to that? Yeah, and again, look at it quite broadly. Yeah. Okay, and you have about maybe about 10 minutes in little groups of 3 doing that. So get yourself into little groups of 3. I'll give you 10 minutes. We'll just pause the camera for just now. Even think in terms of what the ingredients that's benefited you coming to this centre, not that we're bodhisattvas necessarily, but in terms of communicating the Dharma, what helps, what skillful means, what makes that, what sort of smooths the path for that, if you like. Yes?
I was thinking about kind of like openness and kind of being part of a sangha, and that kind of allowing you to kind of feel part of something.
Yeah.
And kind of deepening your practice through like being in this community.
Okay, so being part of a sangha helps you to deepen your practice. Yeah. And so you said openness to.
Yeah, as in like because we were thinking about it in terms of the ingredients to kind of what makes you come here.
Yeah.
So like Kathy was saying about the teachers being kind of leading by example, if you like, very open, very kind of metaphor, and that's kind of one of the reasons that we come.
Good. Yeah, great. Thank you, Francesca. Good. Thanks. Yeah.
The thing that's kept bringing me back here has been a particular combination of kind of spiritual maturity in the teachers, but communicated in a really humble and accessible way. So it seems like whatever's happening in Triratna, in the spiritual growth, seems to work against the building of a big arrogant spiritual ego, which is I found in other places, albeit lots of good stuff being taught. But the trap of becoming a big spiritual personality doesn't seem to be that prevalent, if at all.
Good, thank you. And of course, when you say Triratna, just although I put the question of what brings you here, we're all included. You're part of Triratna as well. I just want to say that, you're both mitras who've spoken already. So, it does includes you too. Yeah. Anything else? What the Bodhisattva's skillful means? Do you think? Yes.
Yeah, it's just that continuing on from the people here leading by example, because Emily brought up that it was the best way of sort of teaching is not to give information, and so in Eastern arts, like in archery and things and music, they do inspiration is sort of just like the master, the teacher, like embodies what it is they're trying to teach, and the student learns from just by their example. That's like rather than here it's more like in schools or something. It's like information.
Yeah. So exemplification. Good. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
So what we was just kind of to add on to that, we were talking about is as well as the examples, the nature with which we're taught. So there's this nice mix of information and practical information, but set within this context of these lovely stories that are very evocative and stimulate the imagination. So it's they speak to you on a deeper level.
Okay. Yeah.
So your head and your heart are being addressed in the teaching at the same time.
Good. So speaking to the imagination. Yeah. As well as the head. Yeah. Good. So I think I'll come back to you, and I think I had someone.
Yeah, we'll really be talking about this, like teaching by giving the example, so people can really relate the messages to their own lives.
Yeah.
So when you come here and listen to something that you can actually relate to something that is happening to you, whatever brought you here, and really makes you part of the Dharma or the message. So it brings you a connection to what sometimes it kind of feels like something distant, but when you actually get something and put it into your life, or something like a practical inspiration or something you really connect to, so it makes you part of it, and it makes you closer and easier to understand.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
I think a degree of empathy, like even though I don't come here often, it's only my second time here, but anyone that you meet that practices Buddhism or anything similar to that gives a degree of empathy that you don't even expect. You just sometimes feel it from them. So
Empathy. Yeah.
I think empathy is like there's something that you feel inside of you, and I don't want to use the word expect, but you can feel that other people have that same sense of empathy, which I've found in people that follow Buddhism.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Good. Yeah.
So someone said about like different things you do here and how you get moved in different ways. And I was reading Sangharakshita's essay on the religion of art, and he was saying it's not enough for someone to tell someone like, to live morally, or someone to know that I've got to live morally. They have to be moved in order for that to actually be ingrained in them. Like in this case, he was saying art, and he says that heart has to be moved, which can then be moved by beauty, things like this. And so, like we did a few weeks ago, and you read out a poem, or we meditated. So that's like
So moved by beauty. Good. Let's have one more, and then I'll give you the traditional ones. Is there one more? Or if there is one.
We were talking about openness and honesty, especially when teaching as well. Like sort of not just communicating a sort of stock teaching, but actually communicating from experience. Opening up. Good. Okay, so let's look at the traditional lists, and I think between you all you've covered. So there's actually 3 lists. So I'll have to go through them a little bit quickly. So there's one list, and it's called the 4 Samgara-vastas. Okay, so this is the Bodhisattva skillful means. So this is
These are sometimes called, that's translated as the 4 means of unification. Have I left on that? No, I haven't, but it's the 4 means of unification. So it's sometimes talked about how to create Sangha. So again, we've been thinking in terms of like formal teaching, but actually, again, these are all practices all of us can do. So the first one is dana, or generosity. That's interesting, isn't it? That's the very first thing, in a way, almost before teaching the Dharma. Why do you think that's a Bodhisattva's skillful means for communicating the Dharma? Generosity. Yeah.
So it's like practicing compassion?
Yeah. Practicing compassion, yeah. Rosa, what did you... Were you going to say something? No. I thought I saw your hand.
I was going to say, just if they wanted to be a bodhisattva, you have to be generous.
To be generous? Yeah. Yeah.
You have to want to give some of yourself to everybody, little beings, in order to be a bodhisattva.
So you have to give...
You have to like... I don't know.
Is it something like this, that the bodhisattva vow involves a certain amount of generosity? Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you, that's very good. The Bodhisattva vow does involve that. And what do you think? What's the effect of generosity? Well, maybe I'll answer my own question. I was thinking again of what because this I was saying about culture. I was thinking I always think of generosity as something that's a culture, and I thought that's quite interesting. That's the very first. It's the very first thing on the list. Obviously, it's a great virtue, generosity, that you practice all the way to Buddhahood. But I think the first thing it does is it kind of makes you. It helps with that openness, doesn't it? If you're in an atmosphere where generosity is part of the culture, you sort of already feel like listening to someone. If you go and meet someone and they're courteous, they say, "Oh, let me take your coat," and let me get you a cup of tea or something. You're more likely to. It just kind of makes you in the mode of being receptive, doesn't it? Because I wonder if in this context, that sort of culture of generosity and that exchange of generosity helps to make us more receptive, do you think? You can see how the opposite would be true, couldn't you? That if it all felt like all very mean and everything, you wouldn't quite relax. And I think the next one is possibly, in a way, in a similar theme than priyavadata, loving speech or kindly speech. So that's the next skillful means of a bodhisattva. Any thoughts about that? Why would that be? Why does that help in communicating the Dharma?
Puts people at ease.
Yeah, I think that's it actually. Yeah, puts people at ease. Again, I think it's an aid to receptivity.
And I suppose if you feel safe, you're more likely to be able to hear.
Yeah, I think that's really true, isn't it? Yeah. It's interesting the way that works, isn't it? I think it is true. I had a friend who taught guitar to children individually, and he said the kids whose parents were very loving learned more. The kids whose parents were a bit snappy with them, they couldn't learn. They were so tense, they couldn't learn. So, yeah. So loving speech. One of the things we often do when we're on the team of retreats. You know, our retreats that we run, I've got a team. We often rejoice in each other's merits. You know, we have our team meeting, and usually what we're doing at that meeting, we do a little bit of, you know, the businessy things, but usually we say, oh, you know, that was a really nice meal, that was a really good talk, you know, and then in that way the team grows, and then the team can serve the retreat, actually. Anyway, I better, I've only got 7 minutes left to tell you the rest. So we've got Dharna, Priyavadita, loving speech, Arthacharya, beneficial activity, and it's particularly in this context, it's encouragement, yeah? I think there's nothing really like encouragement for helping us to grow, actually. So that's another Bodhisattva activity. And this is great, isn't it? Because then you start to see, you know, you might think of the Bodhisattva ideal as something lofty, but these are things we can all practice all the time. Generosity, kindly and loving speech, encouragement, and then one that's been mentioned a few times is exemplification. And that's interesting because I think the interesting point here is that you don't have to be perfect to exemplify, luckily, or else we wouldn't be able to do it. All of us can exemplify, all of us are exemplifying people who are practicing, and that's what the exemplification is. All of us can do that. We don't have to be perfect. All we have to do really is be ourselves and be people trying to, you know, practice a metta bhavana, for example, trying to live a more skillful, mindful, mettaful life. So that's the first 4. That's the list of the first 4 skillful means of a bodhisattva. And there's another list. I'll have to copy these down. I'll come and take a photograph of them later. And this is called the 4 Pratisamvids. And they are, it's called the knowledges, or even the analytical knowledges, but it's not, I don't really do it quite justice, actually, because knowledge in much more than the usual sense. So there's the Dharma Pratisamvid, and that's the knowledge of that which is beyond words. So in order to communicate the Dharma, you have to have a bit of the taste of the Dharma. But again, you probably all had that. And, you know, especially if you've been on retreat, you probably all had a sort of taste of something that's beyond words. It's been quite hard to communicate. I think one can only communicate it like through the imagination, actually. You try and communicate a flavour of that. And in a way that's put as first. But then it's quite interesting. It gets honed down, this list. The next one is Artha Pratisamvid, and it's knowing the Dharma, knowing the actual Dharma as taught, as a way of communicating the truth. So it actually means studying the Dharma and learning who Vimlakirti is, what he's trying to say. Not just as like a history lesson, but so that you start to enter your own experience. You know, you might have noticed that for yourself. You know, maybe you're on retreat, you're having an experience, and then you think, oh yeah, that's just like that thing we learned in class. That's just like the teaching of Vimlakirti. That's just like that teaching of skillful means we learned about. You start to know the Dharma as a means of communicating that truth that's beyond words. That's what the Dharma as teaching is doing. And then if you really want to, then it starts to break it down even more. If you really want to communicate the Dharma, it's not just that you've had that glimpse of something beyond, and that you've kind of chunked that down, as it were, to the Dharma teachings. It's actually that you've got to, it's learning to express yourself clearly. That's the next one. That's the next one, Nirukti Pratisamvid. It's like learning the skill of how to give a Dharma talk, how to maybe even write a Dharma book, how to maybe just, have a conversation about the Dharma. It's learning the skill of that. So it's quite practical, actually. And then I really like this last one, Pratibhana Pratisamvad. Courage, courage. It's kind of the courage of your convictions. It's like, you know the truth. But sometimes it takes a bit of courage to say it, especially maybe that moral courage that Kuslasara was talking about. So, the courage of, yes, it is the courage of your convictions. So, maybe it's the courage to speak out about something. Like somebody was saying to me earlier, they'd finally taken the last step into becoming a vegetarian. So there's one thing to do it, that's great. To talk about it takes a bit more courage again, So it takes courage to communicate our values. So to communicate our values, another way of looking at this, you've got to have values, so that's where you have the glimpse of the glimpse. You've got to sort of learn to articulate them. How do you articulate them in the terms of the Dharma? How do you even articulate them in plain English, as it were? And then how do you have the courage to speak them? Yeah, so that's the 4 Pratisambhas. Of course, you could do a whole retreat on that. And then in the final minute, the last one isn't a list at all. It's the Dharanese, and that's the touch of magic, yeah? Touch of magic. So Bodhisattva, or an aspiring Bodhisattva, which is all of us, can practice all these things. So, they're given as lists. In a sense, don't worry if you can't remember the exact first 4 and the second 4. But sort of see the principle, yeah? That actually skillful means, it's like training ourselves. It's good intentions isn't enough. You want to create the atmosphere that people will be able to hear the Dharma, yeah? So you want to create an atmosphere of generosity, of kindliness, of people trusting you because you're congruent, you're sort of walking the talk, and you're encouraging them. So you're creating that atmosphere, and then, so you do all that first. It's interesting, that whole list comes first, and then you might start talking about the Dharma, yeah, from your own experience. You might put it in Dharmic terms. You might tell a little Dharma story, but you want to get, you're working at trying to get it clear, and it might take a bit of courage as well. And then there's that elusive touch of magic. So that's what the Bodhisattva does. But what I really want to say is that's what we can all do, whether we're like formally teaching, but whether we're just, somebody asks us what our retreat's been like or what we're learning at the Buddhist Centre. And in that way, we are then taking part in this great project of trying to transform our impure Buddhaland into a purer Buddhaland, where people can partake of that, and that's something we can all do. We can all be part of, and we all are part of. So that's everything for this evening. So that's on the theme. It's building on the theme of building a Buddhaland, but it's like looking in quite practical terms at these skillful means. These skills we can learn in order to communicate the Dharma and sort of be all things to all people, as Vimalakirti has talked. Look to see where people are sort of at and communicate from that basis, yeah? So you're not, as some people said, you're not talking at people, communicating at people. You're communicating with people, verbally or otherwise. Okay, so that's it for this evening. Next week with Surya Gupta we're going to be exploring the most exciting one, I think, the transcendental critique of religion. So do come back next week. I really recommend the book, as I say. And yeah, see you next week. So thank you.